Hello, what's up? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from, and welcome to part two of this series of live session on going headless using GatsbyJS. And I apologize that we are starting a little bit late today. I had a couple of engagements, that's why. But let's get into it. Like you know, my name is Aremu Smog. I lead the team here at WebBoss, and I also work at Fort Canvas. At Fort Canvas, primarily, I help our clients move to Jamstack using WordPress as headless CMS and GatsbyJS as the front end. And last week, we took a look at traditional content management systems. We took a look at managing content in general and how difficult it is to manage content on the World Wide Web. We looked at the solution that traditional content management systems like WordPress gave to us and the restrictions that came with it. Then we took a look at the Jamstack concept. We also briefly talked about Headless CMS and we went ahead to install GatsbyJS and Tailwind CSS. In today's session, we'll be taking a look at the Gatsby folder structure. We'll take a look at VSCode extensions that I work with when using Gatsby GSS and Tailwind CSS. These extensions make life extremely easy. We'll also be setting up the custom fonts that we'll be using in the project and the colors also in Tailwind CSS. We'll be creating the landing page. Then we'll take a look at the predictable approach for styling with Tailwind CSS. This predictable approach is essentially the way you would style Tailwind. You would use Tailwind CSS if you probably didn't attend this session, right? And that, in fact, is what we have in the official documentation of Tailwind CSS. Then we will take a look at how you actually should be styling with Tailwind CSS. Then we'll go ahead to create the blog post preview components. Then we'll lazy load images with Gatsby image plugin. We'll go ahead to create and style the newsletter. Then we'll create and style the footer components. So without further ado or without too much story, let's get into it. So let me zoom in a bit. This is what the Gatsby.js directory, this is what it looks like. If you install a new Gatsby.js project, this is what you're going to have. So let me just close this out and just go through. So of course, you don't need to pay attention to all of these files. We'll talk majorly about the really important ones. Then other things you can figure out really by checking the docs or by Googling stuff online. So the very first thing is gatsbyconfig.js. So gatsbyconfig.js contains configurations that you will use with Gatsby, obviously, right? Then, let me zoom out a bit. You have this, the first thing you have is the site metadata, which is like brief information about the website. So in this case, we have title and it says Gatsby default starter. You can change this to, so I'll say headless WordPress blog. So this then becomes the title of your project. You will use it for other things later on. Then description. So just imagine this as the title in the header tag of your project, right? So yeah, so let's take it as that. Then the description is like the meta description. So I'll just simply say learn how to use headless WordPress with Gatsby.js. Then the author, that's me, Aremu Smog. That's my GitHub account. So this is the site metadata. The next thing or the next set of things are plugins. And plugins in any website or in any project enables you to extend the functionality of that project, right? The same thing applies in Gatsby.js. So if you install a new plugin, you need to add the plugin to this plugins array. So it's actually an array of plugins. And if you remember when we installed Tailwind CSS last week, I needed to add Gatsby plugin CSS, Gatsby plugin post CSS for us to be able to use Tailwind CSS in this project. So that's pretty much what we have in Gatsby config.js. Configuration for each plugin would be in the plugins documentation. So you don't really need to cram all of this stuff. So for example, we have Gatsby plugin manifest. This essentially scaffolds the manifest file for you. You can you resolve, yeah, for the plugin, then you change the name of your project and all of that. So, like I mentioned, every project. Sarcastic DNA is asking a question. Sorry, give me a minute. So for every project that that you work with, or for every plugin that you work with, if you check the documentation, you would see how you are supposed to add that particular plugin to GatsbyJS. So Sarcastic DNA says, would there be WooCommerce integration? So this is actually a series, and initially we had planned that we are just going to stick to just blog alone. But now that you are making the request, because I actually saw your comments during the week on the first part, and so I can tell you that we would work on ensuring that the series extends to integrating WooCommerce. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. So yeah, so that's Gatsby config.js. So Gatsby browser, I personally barely ever use Gatsby browser except to install to import Tailwind CSS. So that's pretty much about that. Gatsby node, we will still make use of that later on. Essentially, that's what enables you to be able to create pages for each blog post, categories, and all of that. So we'll still get into it later on. Then Gatsby SSR is for server-side rendering. I have not used this before, but who knows? You might have to work on a project where you need to use SSR. So the next folder you need to, the next thing we have within the GatsbyJS project is source. So, and within the source folder or within the source directory, you can see a couple of things. We have the component directory, but don't let us start there. Let's start with the pages directory. So the pages directory contains the default pages of your website. So let me do Gatsby develop here so that we'll develop, we'll build this website. Gatsby develop. So represent the pages of your project. So if you have worked with React before, you know that for you to be able to do routing and all of that, you have to like do routing, create components, then begin to link things up and all of that. But then with GatsbyJS, all you have to do to create a page, you simply create a file within this pages directory, and that's it. So if I create a new file and say about us.js, then I go ahead and write a React component that returns something that describes about us. Then we have the about us page, and you are good to go. So that's that about the pages folder. The next thing is images. This basically has no structure. Your images can be anywhere, but for readability and when you're working in a team, it's always good that you name things properly. So the images folder contains your image. Then components. These are reusable parts of your code or reusable parts of your project. So that's essentially what the components folder contains. And personally, there is a way I like to structure things, which we'll still take a look at, that makes working with all of this effective. So that's that about the GatsbyJS folder. These are the folders or the directories that you most likely will be working in when working with GatsbyJS. So the next thing I want to take a look at is extensions that I use to make life really easy when I'm working with GatsbyJS and Tailwind CSS. So there are two extensions that I use majorly. One is Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. It should be somewhere around there. Yeah, Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. So I use this. What this does is it gives auto suggestion. It has an autocomplete feature, and it also has a syntax alighting feature. So this makes working with Tailwind CSS really easy because there are a lot of utility classes in Tailwind CSS, and you just can't cram everything into your head and all of that. But having a plugin that suggests the various utility classes to you just makes life really easy. The other plugin that makes life really easy for me is React snippets. So essentially, because instead of having to go into each component or into each page and do import React and all of those things, I can just with two letters and the enter button create a component or a page as the case may be. So that's for that. The next thing we want to take a look at now is how to add custom fonts. Okay, so let's see if this is done building. Let me zoom out a bit. Let me see if this is done building. Then we can go ahead to see the way things work, right? Yeah, so it's loading up. Did I save up the Gatsby config. Oh, I didn't save the Gatsby config file. So I wanted to talk about that stuff. You can see that the title here is still saying Gatsby default starter, whereas it's supposed to be Headless WordPress blog. But nevertheless, let's continue. So we have the font here, but the font is not the font we have in the design. The font in the design is red art, and these colors also are not in Tailwind CSS yet. So to set that up, I'll come within my project directory, not project directory. So I have a folder here called assets, and it contains the fonts that we'll be using. So the fonts that I used throughout this project, I've actually gone ahead to highlight those ahead of time. We have, so you can see fonts, we have red art, display bold, regular, and medium. So basically what I would do is copy these guys, red art, display bold, uh, red art, display medium, and red art, display regular. Copy, then come over to this guy, videos, headless, going headless with WordPress. Then I'll simply create a new, so I'll go inside the source folder, create a new folder and call it fonts. Then paste this guy in there. And that's it. So I'll come over to VS Code, then files, then I'll come over to style, then Tailwind.css. And this is just your plain CSS. So I'll do at font face, font family. I'll call this red art. Then the source is font slash. So let's start with regular first. Then I will do font weight. The font weight is 400. Then I'll come over here, duplicate this twice, and I'm using Shift Alt arrow down to do that duplication. Then this guy needs to change to medium. Medium is 500. Then this guy needs to change to bold, and font weight of bold is 700. Save that up. Then come over to Tailwind config.css. Then I will extend the theme. So we have theme here, extend. Then we will do font family. Then I will do sans. You can call this anything really. So I can do red art. I can call this red art and just say red art. Kindly note that the name should be the font family name that was given here. So the value will be the font family name that was given here. And the only thing that changes is the variant. So yeah, so that's that for that. So I will come here and say custom font family, because there's no time on our site and there's actually a whole lot of things to do. So that's why I might actually not. Okay, yeah, so I think we have some time. So let's just get to it. So font family, red art, we have that. Okay, so save that up now. So hopefully our project still builds. I'm not saving this guy because if we save it up, it will take some time for the server to restart. So so let me come over to the project now. So we still have this font by Tailwind CSS, right? So okay, so let's wait. I think this guy is still building. Okay, almost done. Okay, almost done building. So, all right. Okay, good. Done building. Nice. So one thing though that I want us to do is, so there's a new version of Tailwind CSS, and one of the things that comes with it is JIT, which stands for just in time. And what that means essentially is that so at the moment it takes a lot of time for your CSS to compile. So if I come over here and say mode and I put JIT, our CSS should now compile faster. So I will also come over to tailwind.css now. So that's just something we don't really need to pay attention to, right? So so the next thing I want to do is I want to apply I want to apply, um, I want to apply, oh, okay. Okay, this purges all our CSS. Then we need to come over here. So these things happen, right? And worst case scenario, we just remove it just in time. So I need to come over here and purge the CSS, and I'll simply do that by I can't really remember this command. Then dot source asterisk anything that has .js. So let's see if that works. So if it doesn't work, I would simply remove the just in time mode. Okay, so um, let me confirm this index.js. Let me do font red art. Font red art. Don't think that should do anything, or that would do anything with that either. So let's see. It's still building. Okay. Same. So give me a second here. Let me quickly check what the purge command looks like. So ideally, or in the past, purge, I normally use purge when I'm moving to production, right? Because you want to remove all unused classes just to ensure that um, your build takes lesser time, right? The command is actually correct. The command I put in for the purge is actually correct. So what's wrong? Okay. So I guess I'll just comment out the GIT mode for now so that we can we can move up to speed. Okay, cool. So I think the GIT mode actually affected things a bit. So we'll just do without the GIT mode for now. So we have our red hat fonts. And how do I know? Because this is Fort I said Fort Canvas. This is WebBoss's official font. So I can recognize the font. So so I'll come over to Tailwind because every text on this website or on the project actually uses red hat. The only difference would be in size and all of that. So I'll quickly come over here and say at layer base, yeah, at layer base. Then I would say body and say at apply font red hat, right? So cool. So apply that up. I'll be apply that rather, and every font on here should now be red hat. So while that is going on, the next thing I want to do is customize the colors, or I want to add new colors rather to Tailwind CSS. So I'm still extending the theme. So I'll simply come over here and say colors. So I will say colors, then colors. This will be an object. Then I would say blue. I would say block blue. Okay, let me just do, so let's do blue. Then I want to use a name that's unique. WB blue, which stands for WebBoss blue. Then I'll come over to, I'll come over here. This is the blue color. And paste that in. Paste it in. WB blue. Oh, I need to put this in quotes. Then I need to do WB line. This is that. This is this color. Awesome. Awesome. So what I can do now is, so because most of the text in this on this design, or in this design rather, is actually blue color. That's like our primary. Black is not a part of our brand color. So I would simply go ahead and do this. Within the body, I'll just say at apply text color, text text WB blue rather, WB blue. So this is the blue color now. Then save that up. So all the text colors should be blue now, any moment from now. And okay, so just give it a minute or a few seconds and we should be good to go. You can see all the colors are now blue. And that, my friend, is how you set custom colors using custom colors and custom fonts using Tailwind CSS. So the next thing we'll work on now is this header, welcome to my blog. So yeah, I'll come over to index.php. I said index.php, index.js rather. Don't mind me. Then so we can leave this as, so I don't need to add the text size later. So I'll come over here and do this. Remove all of these guys. Remove all of these guys. Then yep. Then SEO title, we'll leave that. Then I'll simply do headless. I'll actually change the title here. Instead of welcome to my blog, I say headless WordPress blog. And I will add that rocket. Headless WordPress blog. Then I would then rockets. Good. Headless WordPress blog. Save that up. And let's see what that gives us. Awesome. So the next thing I want to do now is, so if you observe, there's a layout component which kind of wraps everything. We'll still come back to this, but for now, all I want to do is remove this header. That's all I want to do. Remove this header, then disable it here also. Okay, yeah, I actually want to remove it. Then all of these styles and configuration and everything. I actually want to remove all of that. I actually want to remove all of that. Still come back to every other thing later. So the only thing we have now is a main children. So you pass in the children prop and you return every other thing that is in within this. So I don't need this query anymore also. So which means I don't need this. Prop types, node is required. Yeah, let's leave that. So let's save it up and this is what we have now. So yeah, so let's go ahead and style this. Let's go ahead and finish styling this header component. So index.js. So the text size of this is actually 64 pixels because I've actually checked this ahead of time. So I'll simply scroll down in Tailwind CSS here and look for 64 pixels. But unfortunately, there is no 64 pixels. What we have is 60 pixels. So here's what I would do. So the new Tailwind CSS version actually allows you to do something like this. Text, just do square brackets, then put the value you want, 64 pixels. But this is not reusable in that if you want to use, if you want to create another component that has exactly the same font size, you cannot, right? And it kind of becomes a problem, right? So if let's come over here. Tailwind. Oh, because we are not in JIT mode. Okay. So let's see what this gives us. I think because we are not in just in time mode, that's why you're unable to do that. And I actually made a mistake. I should be working in another branch with this. Okay. So here's what we do. So I'll simply do this text 6XL, which is 60 pixels. So the goal is just to ensure that we have something on the screen, right? 60 pixels. Awesome. Okay, I think even the 60 pixels kind of looks too big, or am I the one who has over zoomed things in? Yeah. Okay. So, okay, awesome. So I think I will just leave it at 60 pixels since it looks good. Then text center to center things up. Then the next thing is to add some padding top and right. But before we do that, it's always good practice to check the spacing that was handed over to you by the design team. So we have the height here is about 132, then approximately the same thing. So what I'll just do here is PY. PY stands for padding top and bottom. PY, then I'll look for the value closest to 132 pixels, right? So I'll do 128 pixels. Then yeah, cool. And in fact, I think that this font is too big, but yeah, that's what was added to off to us by our design team. So there's nothing we can really do about it. So now here's the thing. If I want to create more components on this page, like add this component, newsletter subscription, one thing that is obvious is the fact that this page quickly becomes bulky and it becomes very difficult to be able to debug this. So one common practice for me personally is to create components for each part of my project. So I'll come over here in the components folder and create a new folder and call it pages. This is primarily the way I work. Then within the pages folder, I'll create a new folder and call it home. So if this website is going to have multiple pages, I will create a folder for each component that's going to be like in that page. So within the home page, I will now create a new file and call it something like intro.js. Now, I can now do RC, which is coming from our React snippet to quickly create a React component and call this home intro. And essentially what that is doing is, so essentially this will basically return this and we'll come over to, so intro, come over here and do return this guy. Remove prop types. I don't need prop types. They're not passing anything in here. It's not dynamic. And boom, that's it. Then if I come over to index.js now, I can now say home intro. This will automatically import things for me and I'm good to go. So I'll remove these guys and we are done. Congratulations on creating your very first component, both with GatsbyJS or with React in GatsbyJS using Tailwind CSS. So that's that for that. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is, you remember I mentioned that there's a predictable approach to styling things up in Tailwind CSS. So the predictable approach would be to just pass all these class names into Tailwind CSS, right? But if you look at it, if you have a lot of class names, and I've worked on components as small as an heading that has a lot of class names, it then becomes difficult for you to be able to track things or make meaning out of things. So what you can do is do something like say const style equals, then use your template literal and come in here. So that this is the approach we'll be using throughout this course. I say throughout this course. Well, it could be a course actually. Text center, then this kind of becomes more readable. So home, intro, star. Then we can of course come in here and I'll say star, right? But then this poses a problem. And the problem is this. So let me quickly save this up. You can see that it works fine. Let's refresh this guy and let's see what's happening. So you can see that this thing works fine. But the problem is this essentially, so so I'm looking at time because like we promised, each live stream is not supposed to be more than 30, it's not supposed to be more than 60 to 30 minutes. So you can see what I'm talking about now. You can see that it creates these multiple lines for each classes, and that kind of like increases the size of your HTML. And if you are working on a very large project, it can of course affect the speed of the project. So there's this package that I use by the Netlify team. The Netlify team is also migrating to Tailwind CSS. So you see a good reason why you should be using Tailwind CSS. So essentially what this does is to remove the extra spaces and all of that, right? So here's what I'm saying. So let's just go ahead and install. So it's at Netlify, template literal, class names, I think, template literals. I will leave a link in the description for this. So let's install that up. Let's install that. So yep. Okay, what's the error? It's saying wow, npm installed at Netlify. npm install at Netlify. Let's give this another shot. Wow, I just got shocked. I was about to give something a shot and I got shocked. Interesting. Amazing. Uh let me check npmjs.com. Okay. So I'm checking npmjs.com on my other screen here. npmjs.com. Okay. So while I'm checking npmjs.com, I think we can then go ahead to work on other components, right? So that this doesn't like waste our time. Okay, so npmjs.com is loaded. So I think I should just bring it to this screen so that it does not appear like, oh, the screen is empty. So let's see. So it's supposed to be literals. What we have here is literal. All right, see. So, okay. So while that is getting loaded up, so let's prepare to start working on the blog post preview component. So essentially what I would do here is so instead of pages, this would not be under pages. Blog is like the system in itself, right? So I'll create a new component and call it blog. Then within the blog component, within the blog directory, there will be another directory called preview. Then this blog preview we have a folder called, we have a file called index.js. So I will just come over here and say RC and then say blog preview. Blog preview. Then I'll come over here. So this blog preview is supposed to accept a couple of things, accept a couple of variables. The category, the date it was published, and the title. Then of course the URL. So we'll do category. You can use props. You can use whatever approach you feel is much more comfortable for you. Category, title, dates, and image and URL. Awesome. So, and instead of just making this a div, I'll make it an article. I'll make it an article. I'll make it an article. Then in here, there will be image. In here, there will be an image. Okay, so let me just slow down a bit so that we can circle back to things. So this is what we have, right? So Yeah, so let's finish up. So we now have our Netlify extension or package installed. So I can come over to intro now and say, I think it should be CTN. Let me check the docs. Should be where's the folder? Seems I npm.js. Seems I've closed that. I've closed the tab. So let's just open it up. Yo. So let me see. Okay, yeah, cool. At Netlify, class name template literal. Class name template literals is literals instead of literal. I've been using literal all this while. So search. Okay, yeah. So import CTLs. Import. So let me just copy this guy. Import CTL. Import CTL from this guy. Then I'll simply do CTL. I think that should be it really. If I come over here, save this guy up, save this guy up, we still have the same thing. So it's saying what's here. Template.replace is not a function. So let's do CTL. Put it in. Let's put it in. Let's put it in brackets as a function should be. All right, so no errors. So if we look within, if we inspect now, if we check our inspect now, we now have this guy. Oh, it's still the same. Nothing has changed, it's the same. Import CTL from this guy. I hope you don't have any errors in the console. This guy is still building. Okay, it's reloading by itself now. So I'm guessing that this guy is just starting up. So that's why. So the changes just took effect. That's what happens when you use a slow PC, really. Okay, let me see. Let me expand this guy out. I think we'll come back to fix this, right? Because there isn't so much time, and I just want us to cover as many things as we can. So the next thing is, I see somebody is online. You can drop a few comments in the comment section. It's nice to have somebody here. So cool. So we are working on the blog post preview, right? So preview. So the blog post essentially consists of an image, this text, this all of this guy. So what I would do at the moment is, so let me bring in the image. So come over to source, not assets, then videos, assets, then we have images. So we have blog post preview and we have blog post single. So I'll just come over here and go in Headless with WordPress, source, images, then I'll just do blog. Then I will use the normal. Okay, yeah. So all of these prop types can be set later on, but I will actually remove prop types because we are not doing any prop type kind of thing in this section, in this session. So I'll go ahead and import, I would say blog preview from no, get out of that folder, to images, then blog, then let me copy the name of the image. I've not even pasted it in. Blog post preview. Blog post preview. So then I'll go ahead and do this. Then I will say source, of course, is blog preview. Then the alt text, which is for the for SEO sake and accessibility and all of that, I would say it should be the title that the user passes in. Then the class name will be with, I said with the with full, then and with full. Yeah, I think we'll make do with that for now. Let's save it up and let's try and preview within um, within index.js. So let's do blog preview a couple of times. Then yo blog preview. So let's see what that gives us. So it's saying blog preview this guy. So let's return blog preview category image source equals blog preview. So what's the error? Let's check the error. So it's saying const blog post preview. What's the error? Identify blog preview. Oh, okay. So let's do blog preview image. This is temporary actually, so we still swap it out. So in fact, this name is not good enough. So let's do blog post instead. Then come over to index. Then I will change this to posts. Then I will change this also to posts. So that should work fine now. Awesome, amazing. But there's a problem here. And the problem is this guy is spanning from like left to right. It's touching both sides of things. So here's what I would do. I'll create a wrapper here and say section. We'll still come back to this, but I just want to quickly fix this and say class name is grid. In fact, like I never used grid until I started working in Tailwind CSS. I used to use Flex for things like this, but since I found grid, my brother, my sister in the Lord, I've never turned back. So grid, then grid call. So that's 3 or 4. And I've not been paying a lot of attention to responsiveness. Actually, we'll fix that to 1, 2, 3, 4. So grid calls font 4. So that tells this guy to use 4 columns, right? So if you come over here now, you can see we now have this guy occupying this. So the other thing so let's finish the blog post preview before we go ahead and do other things so that we are not just moving around in circles. So the next thing I want to do is come over to blog post preview, then image, then I'll create a div here. Then I'll add the padding to it. Class name is P. Let's do P2. Then the BG, the background will be WB blue, right? Then let me add the paragraph in here. Then say class name is. We'll still swap to the CTN thing, but since it didn't quite work out right now, that's why. So that's why we are not dealing with it. So here's the text that we have. We have posted. So we have posted in nuisance. Nuisance will be category, and this guy would be dates. Then I would say the text of this should be white. Let's save that up and let's see what we have. Of course, nothing serious is going to show up yet, right? Then come over here. You can see there is no category yet showing up. There is no date showing up also. So what I would do, of course, is come within our pages folder here and say title. In fact, we don't need the title now, but go ahead and set it. Title equals this guy. Title equals that. Of course, we'll be pulling this from WordPress later on, so we don't really need to bother that much. title equals this guy. Category is musings or musings or musings. Category is musings. Then the date is April 18, 2020. So let's save this up and let's see what we have. All right, cool, awesome. So preview. So the next thing I want to do is, so I think I should, oh, okay, that might not be so convenient for me. So I will add the span here so that I can change the color of that guy. Go to this guy and bring it in here. Then the class name is WB line. Oh no, text WB line to change the color to the lime color. Cool, changed. The next thing I need to confirm quickly is the font size. The font size is 12 pixels, and that's the font size for this paragraph. So that's text XS, I think. Yeah, text XS. That gives us 12 pixels. Only a font or a value that we were looking for that we found. Awesome. So the next thing is title. I will make this an H3 class name. Okay, H3 and just dump the title for now. Title. All right. So the color is not showing up because the overall color of the body is blue, right? So I will just abstract this text white color to the top level. So text, or it could even be, it could have been somewhere around there, but it's fine like this. So board meetings and milestones. So the next thing is we need to adjust the font size. So the font size is 36 pixels, I think, or 32 pixels. And that's because I've taken a look at all of this ahead of time so that we don't spend so much time looking for font sizes while trying to build stuff. Okay. So text white, text 3XL, then it should be font medium, not regular. What we have at the moment is regular, font medium, font, font medium. Oh, I applied it to the wrong elements. And close this guy up. So class name equals font medium. Save it up. Refresh. All right. So just wait for this guy to reload. That should be good. Okay, we still have the same thing. Font medium. Oh, the font size also was applied to that. Interesting. Nice. So one thing I want to do very quickly is, okay, yeah. So we have this guy now, and of course, so this is not perfect yet. We need to set a minimum height for this guy, as you can see in the design, and we still need to knitting things up, left, right, middle, and center, right? So let me just quickly measure the size of this guy. He's about 30 pixels. Is that the same thing we have there? 30 pixels all around. So I'll come over here and do, so in here, so this is where we have the description. We have 30 pixels. So instead of P2, we now have P 30 pixels or close. 28 pixels. So let's do 7. That's what that gives us. All right, nice. The other thing we need to do is adjust this title from this guy. So so that will be margin top of, let's say, I think I should have measured it actually instead of trying to do a guesswork, right? Let's see. All right. Then we need to set the minimum height of this to something larger. So that would be, so that's just to ensure that articles with longer titles are not, nothing is wrong with them. Even though we could go ahead to truncate the article title and all of that, right? So height 209 pixels. So I'll come here and say mean height. That's the minimum height. Oh, would actually have to set that. So we actually have to extend that. So it's actually not something complicated. Simply extend. So I would say minimum, minimum, minimum height. Then I would say mean height. And I'll simply give it a name. Say post preview. Post preview. So that's 209 pixels. 209 pixels. What's wrong? Okay, yeah. Then the colon there. So I'll then come over to post preview and say mean height post preview. Post preview. And we should be good to go. And that should do it. Did that do it? I think it did. I think it did. The minimum height now should be 209 pixels. But apparently it seems that it appears that 209 pixels. No, that didn't work. Minimum height, tailwind.config.css, post preview, uh, post preview. Okay, I think the development server is still working. So it seems that I'm faster than than the development server. So it should refresh anytime from now. And should set it to that. Okay. So let's just chill. Let's just chill a bit. So we're almost running out of time, about 8 minutes left. But it would be really nice if we can finish up all of these components. I think we're actually going to finish up all of these components before we end this live stream so that we can focus on GraphQL and pulling the data by next week. So let me check my dev server here. So I think we should be good actually. Why is this taking forever? So I think I'll sometimes it's better to stop the server and restart. So that's that. I will also go ahead and do localhost 8000 so that we can start another tab also. Okay, so it's a good thing that nothing's showing up here. Okay, so this is yet to start building. So let's just give it a few seconds, okay? Almost done. Okay. So this is still building. So let's just give it a few seconds, a few minutes. Still building. So the other things that are left are the footer, this guy. Okay. I think this is essentially the difference between a live stream and a tutorial, right? If this was a tutorial, I can actually go ahead and just remove all of these parts. But in a live stream, everything makes it really interesting. I think I would build this with JIT. It seems the CLI is the terminal that we have here in VS Code is getting tired already. Gatsby develop. Gatsby develop. So what error are we having now? Errors will happen. Ah, not finished copy. So let's do Gatsby develop again. Okay, hopefully this works. All right, so it's building already. Okay. And we should be live. So I think one thing I've enjoyed so far in this live stream is really this is the way things are in reality. Your CLI fucks up. Sorry, I'm using the F word on this live stream. Your CLI does what it's not supposed to do. You are figuring out how to build and all of these things. And your project manager does not know that you are facing all of these issues. All they want you to do is installing the website, right? So yeah, so this is the way things happen in real life. And real life, like you don't even prepare ahead for you do research on the spot. Like even for a session like this, like there is some preparation that goes into it and all of that, right? And even despite all the preparation, this kind of things still happen. So really, yep. So yeah, it's not like I want to intentionally stress you, but this is the way life is. Okay, I think we should Pascal case. Okay, was being Pascal case. Which component do we have that's named Pascal case? I don't think there is any actually. index, index page, blog post preview, home intro, everything here has Pascal case. So, okay, this is all I need. You can deal with the Pascal case later. So, localhost 8,000. So, that was about 2 minutes or thereabouts. Amazing. Just to, just because we decided to use minimum height and all of that. So, you can see that the height of this has moved a bit. So, um, so, the next thing I want to do quickly is I want to, so if we check this out, the there is like a maximum width for this guy. Like this guy just doesn't span left right. So the maximum width is around 1551 pixels. So just the same way we did this guy, the minimum height will do maximum width. So I will do max width. I will say body should be, I'll do 1500 pixels. Or let me check. I'm not so sure. So I will do that within layout actually. Layout name, class name is max width. Okay, yeah. Luckily for us, we have some here. I will just use anyone that's close to that. So let's use 1280 pixels. Right. So I don't need to. I'm, I was looking for a way to avoid doing this so that the server does not crash again or the CLI doesn't crash again. So then max width 7XL. Let's see what that gives us. All right. Of course, it won't be visible yet. Okay, yeah, it's visible in that the size of this adjusted, right? But it's supposed to be at the center visibly. So then I will do MX Auto. And for the sake of mobile screens, I will simply add a padding left and right of 12 pixels, which is px3. Let's see what that gives us. Awesome. That seems kind of too much. I'll do px2 instead, so that we still have something that is close to reality as much as possible. All right, I think this is beginning to take shape, really. Interesting. So what I could do now is, which is of course not what we'll do eventually, is come over here to pages, index, yeah. Then I would say, where's this? No index pages. Then I would simply duplicate this guy 8 more times. Save it up. I'm not sure if that's 8 times. Good. I like the way this is appearing now. So the next thing I need to do is add a gap to all of this. So I'll just do gap. I'll do gap 4 really. Then some things should break. Awesome. So nothing broke. Gap 4. I think gap 4 is too small compared to, okay, I think it works. Then intro preview texts. I think I'll do 2XL for the title actually instead of 3XL. All right, I think this works for me. We can customize things later, right? So, okay, yeah. So we have this now. The next thing I want to go ahead and work on is the footer. The footer. So, post, preview, blog. So what I usually do, I think I wouldn't do that now, is create a new folder for layout and all of that. But for now, I'll simply come to component and say footer.js. then RC, say main footer. And we are not passing anything in here, so there won't be a need for that. And yeah, so then this of course will be footer. And the footer is just supposed to contain a bunch of texts, a paragraph, then the buy me a coffee, then the buy me a coffee link. So the paragraph says built by your awesome friends at WebBoss for a series of live session articles. Click here to view the complete. Yeah, so let's save that up. So class name is text center. Save it up. And let's see. Okay, so of course it will not show up yet. So what I would do now is I will come to the layout.js, and this will be the last thing. Okay, yeah. In the main, then this will be so main footer. So of course we are returning React fragments here. That's why we're able to do something like this. Main footer. Main footer is not defined. Okay, it didn't import it automatically for. So I'll simply come over here and say main footer from solve it. Footer.js. Right. So 1 hour 6 minutes. We have about 30 minutes to go. Okay, awesome. But right now it spans from left to right. So first and foremost, let's add a padding here of that's a lot. Let's do 20 pixels or 64 pixels. That works. Yeah. Let's see what that gives us. All right. Okay, the grid is gone now. The grid spacing is gone now. We'll fix that later. So also, I'll do a max width of yeah, that's something very small. Yeah, then MX auto as well. Then okay, save that up. Let's see. Awesome. Exactly what I need. So I think I'll do 2XL. Awesome. So the next thing we need is the buy me a coffee badge. Then come over to source. No, come over to videos, assets, then the buy me a coffee badge. Assets, going headless, source, images, blog. Okay, yeah, so let me just, so I normally have a folder for icons and sorts, logos and all sorts. So I'll just do logos. I'll do buy me a coffee. So come over here and say import buy me a coffee logo from images, logos, then copy, and come over here and copy the image. So I'll simply come over here. So I'll simply create a, let me make it a paragraph actually. Create a paragraph here, create an ahref, since this is going to an external link, then I will create an image source equals buy me a coffee logo source. This is this is decorative, so I'll just do alt that, then come over here and get the link to buy me a coffee. It's actually a paystack link because buy me a coffee payment options are actually not available in Nigeria. So ahref equals this, then targets equals underscore blank, then rel equals no No referral. If I don't have that, it will actually automatically ask me for it. So let's save this up and let's see what that gives us. All right. So this we have this guy, but it's not central aligned. To make it align centrally, I can simply come over here and say class name inline block. Awesome. So it's aligned center now. Then add some padding to the top and maybe give it a width of how many pixels? 160, 192 pixels. And let's see what that gives us. Top is not too small. All right, this is perfect. So if you click on this guy now, you should see the buy me a coffee link. Awesome, awesome. So we have this. So I just wanted to ensure that there's a feature that at least if you click on it or if you try to interact with it, um, it actually it actually works, right? So that's that for that. So let me come over to this index page and the index pages. And so what's wrong with this? Grid gas for this all of this. We have this guy. So what's wrong with this? Why is the gap not working? So I guess we'll go ahead and fix this later, right? Yeah. So the next thing we want to do now is the subscribe. If we're able to finish this subscription form, I would be so happy. So I'll come over here and say component. I will just call it newsletter. Newsletter. And I will say index.js. Then I'll just come in here and say import RC rather to create a React component and say newsletter newsletter subscription newsletter form. Then I'll return a section here and I'll return a form here. Later on, so the focus right now is simply styling things, right? We'll still take a look at how we can design how to make it work. And we'll be using Formic for state management and all of that. So I wouldn't bother so much about that now. So in here, I'll put an H3 and say subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to our newsletter. Then class name is BGWB line. So let's add some padding top and bottom. Some padding top and bottom. Yeah. Okay, so let me bring it into this guy. Index.pages. Then I'll do newsletter form. I might change the name of this component eventually or later on actually. So we don't need this guy. Let me close it up. Okay, subscribe to my newsletter. So the font is bold. Where is it? Newsletter. I think this is one problem I have since almost everything is indexed. Then I now begin to look for which one is which. Font bold. Then let's check the font size. It should be like 32 pixels, 36 pixels. So it's not that's not actually pixels. I keep making that mistake. It's just 36. It's unitless. So text. Let's go with 32 pixels. That should work fine. Then text center. I think I can do this side by side actually. Oh, that goes on text center. Then this guy. So then add some. Okay, have we added padding? Okay, we added padding. Then we also need to add margin so that it doesn't touch this guy or anything below it. So my, let's do 12. Need as much space as possible. Cool. Awesome. So the other thing is, if you observe here, we have one, two, one, two to the side. So this 12 column, that's 8. So what that means is that the width of this is supposed to be 8 divided by 12, and left and right should be auto. Awesome. You can see this is looking pretty good. So the next thing we want to work on now is the form, is the form in itself, right? So here's what I'm going to do. So form, yeah. So I'll come in here and create an input, then call this guy, let me see, first name and your email address. So those are the two things, right? So I'll come over here, say type equals text, name, there's no need for name. By the time we do format, that's when we need name. Type equals text, placeholder equals your first name. We don't need ID since this is React. We'll probably use state or ref. Then email, type is email, then your email address, your email address. So then, of course, should be required, is required. Required is required. Then no, and now do inputs type equals submit. Then the value equals subscribe. So let's save this up and let's see what we have in the console. Of course, something very ugly as it should be. All right, awesome. So here's what I'm going to do. First is I'm going to make this class equals class name. I'll make the form flex. I don't know if it's a good thing or if it's good practice to add classes to the form, but I am doing it. I'm sorry if I've offended anyone. So then I will come here and say const input style equals. So I'll actually look into the reason why that CTL utility whatsoever that we're trying to use at that time is not working out. So, but for now, let's just focus on getting this done. So the first thing is text. So then that becomes very difficult to work with it. Text WB blue. The next thing is want to add padding of 2. Then the width should be 4. No, not 4. The width should be 5/12. Should be 5/12. Or let's do 4/12 actually. 4/12. It should be 5/12. Then PG white, of course. Then maybe on focus. We can deal with focus states later, right? So I'll simply come over here and say uh, class name, because this is a variable input style. Save this guy up. Let's see what we have. Awesome. Amazing. I need to add a padding here. PX, that's let's do 5. Awesome. Okay. That's not enough. Let's do 9. All right. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is add some margin to this guy. MT rather, margin top. Let me add 9 also. And let's see what that gives us. Basically, what we're doing is just style things up, right? Then, right. So this is not looking so good yet. And yeah. So, okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll actually make this 4 over 12. Then I will do um, justify, justify between. That's a lot. Let's make this, let's make this 5 actually. Let's see. Or we could actually use grid. We could use grid. We could use grid. So okay, let's just finish styling this guy up. So the submit button, I would style this guy separately. So let's simply say class name equals uppercase BG WB blue, text white, text white, then width is 2 over 12. Width is 2 over 12. So let's see what that gives us. Okay. So I guess the only thing we need to do right now is so I guess I'll just add margin onto these guys. M R, let's say 4. I think that should fix this. But okay, yeah. I think that does a good job in fixing this. Okay, I think we are close. We are close. Let me see. This guy still looks bigger, so I would make this. I'll make the padding 16 or 20, just to have that feeling of the box. And the input boxes needs to get bigger also. Okay, I think this is close. This is close to what we have on there. Um, awesome. Then the input boxes themselves need to be bigger. So P3, we could do 4. It won't be too big. Too big. 3. All right. So then the text color is text W. Okay, we've added that. So let me save it up. So I think it will show up. Okay, when you are entering the address. I think this guy is a little too big, so I will do 16. All right. Awesome. I think so. If you look at this and you look at this, very similar, right? Then I should do MR2 instead of 4. Awesome. This looks nice. Input type equals submit. Let me add cursor of pointer to this guy. Cursor pointer. I think my internet got disconnected for a bit. Sorry for that. So we still have 6 minutes left. Let me see if I could debug one or two things before we we end this live stream. Each live stream is supposed to last for about 90 minutes at most, and we've spent just a few minutes. So I think one of the few things I would like to do is okay. Let's debug this guy and look for the reason why the gap is not showing up. Then let's say we can make some part of this responsive as well. Then we'll look into every other part from next week. So let me come over here. So one okay, yeah. Let me look at this and see the reason first. Okay, calls section is not the gap class is not reflecting here. Awesome. So gap let me see. Oh, let me save it up. Then I would save it up again. Gap 4. Awesome. So why is this different in size? Okay, we'll actually look into fixing that later on. The other thing I wanted to talk about is how to lazy load images. So using the default image HTML tag is not the optimal way to work with Gatsby generally. So I'll come over here to first to the blog post preview. Yeah. So instead of using this image, I will use static image. Static image is a component from Gatsby plugin image. If you don't have this plugin installed, all you have to do is just do npm Gatsby plugin image, right? So um yep. So yeah, we have Gatsby static image. Then the source this time around, you can't pass variables into Gatsby plugin image. So it won't work. I've tried this and it was really interesting. So okay, so Gatsby, so remove this guy, then save it up, and let's see what that gives us. So nothing, okay, yeah. So you see it comes from gray to this particular color, right? So what you can do in this case is do placeholder blood. So instead of it coming in from gray to the original image, you see it comes from blur to this particular to the image. And the other thing you will observe now is there is now a space below this, right? So the way I've found this to work, or the way I've been able to fix this, is you can either do height full. This might fix it and it might not. Let's see that. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, good. It didn't fix it. Good. So the other thing you can do is come over here, placeholder blood, and set the font of the text size to 0. The text size to 0. So basically come in here. You have to go within Tailwind config.css variants, then say font size, font size, and say maybe 0, and call it 0 pixels. Save it up, then come to index pages, no, preview, blog post preview, and say text 0. Save it up, and that should remove all the extra spaces that you do not need. So give it a minute. I think it's still trying to load up and all of that. So this should do it. We have about a few seconds left before this live stream, before I end this live stream. So you can also try it out, and that should fix it. If it doesn't fix it, we'll talk about it next week. And also, before next week, I'll go ahead and implement the lazy loading feature for the buy me a coffee badge that is down here also. But I don't think it would be really nice if the last thing that is showing up here is a page that is glitched. So I'll just hang in for a few seconds before before I end this live stream. So it's exactly 90 minutes and the live stream will be ending soon. Okay, cool. Awesome. So this introduced new set of problems. Okay. So I'll fix this ahead of I'll fix this ahead of next week and let you know how it goes. Okay. Okay, I think this looks better. So I'll go ahead and fix this space and let you give you updates by next week. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining this session. Please do not forget to follow us on all social media platforms at web_boss on Twitter and Instagram. Also, kindly check out our website, webboss.com.ng. We put tutorials and we tell the stories of web developers just like you, how they got to wherever they are at the points that they are in their career and so many other things. I have been your host and my name is Aremu Smog. Please do have a wonderful evening and please do have a wonderful evening and stay jiggy. I'll see you next week. Thank you.